Good morning, students. Welcome to UDAAN Career Institute. In today's class, we will continue with the chapter that is mineral nutrition for the plants. Now, students, as you know that in the last class, we have gone with the deficiency symptoms of essential elements, and also we have covered the toxicity of micronutrients. In today's class, we will continue with the another topic that is mechanism of absorption of elements. Now, students, as you know that these elements they are necessary for the normal growth, development, and reproduction of the plants. This process of the absorption of the elements it can be demarcated into two major phases or two main phases. The first phase of the absorption of elements it is basically the rapid uptake of ions into the free space or the outer spaces of the cell. So, in the first phase, rapid uptake of the ions will take place, and this uptake of ions will take place in the free space or outer space of the cell. So, this first phase of the absorption of element is known as apoplast and it is passive in nature. So, no energy is required for the uptake of ions in this particular phase of the absorption of elements. In the second phase of the uptake of the elements, the ions are taken slowly into the inner space of the cells, and this process is known as symplast of the cells. Now, basically, symplast it needs energy, whereas apoplast is passive. The movement of ions into the apoplast is passive and it is usually taking place through the ion channels which are present inside the cell, whereas on the other hand the entry of ions through the symplast it requires expenditure of energy. So basically it is an active mode of absorption, whereas apoplast is the passive mode of absorption. Now, the movement of ions inside the cell is known as influx, and outside or outward movement of the ions is known as efflux. So, basically, movement of ions inside the cell is known as influx, and outward movement of ions, that is, movement of ions outside the cell, it is known as efflux. Now, moving to the another topic that is translocation of solutes. As we know that the mineral salts they have been absorbed by roots, so from roots they are translocated with the help of xylem along with the ascending stream of water, because xylem is carrying the water. So along with water they will translocate the mineral salts and they are being pulled up to the upper part of the plants by another process which is known as transpirational pull. Now, if we analyze the xylem sap, it shows the presence of mineral salts in it. So, xylem, along with water, it also helps in the transfer or translocation of mineral salts. Now, when we use radioisotopes of mineral elements and when we view in that we can easily see that they are being transported through the xylem by determining the radioactivity of the mineral elements. So this is how the transpirational pull will take place. It takes the minerals along with the water and it starts moving towards the upper part of the plants. Finally, it reaches to the leaf where the transpiration is basically taking place. Now, soil is considered as the reservoir of essential elements. Now basically majority of the nutrients which are necessary for the growth and the development of plants they are obtained from roots, and as they are present in the soil because of the weathering and breakdown of the rocks. So basically soil is considered as a reservoir of these elements, and these elements they are obtained in the soil or they have been present in the soil because of weathering process and the breakdown of the rocks. Now nutrients they are derived from rock minerals. As a result we tell them or we name them as mineral nutrition. So soil not only it supplies these minerals, but it is also acting as a major harbor for nitrogen fixing bacteria, other microorganisms. It also helps in holding the water It also supplies air to the roots and also act as a matrix which stabilizes the plant. So soil, apart from acting as a reservoir for essential elements, also it performs various different functions. Both macronutrients and micronutrients, they are they are used in the component of fertilizers, and they are supplied when there is deficiency of these nutrients also. Now moving towards a most important point with respect to this chapter, that is the study of nitrogen cycle. Now we can consider that nitrogen cycle is a biogeochemical process. In this particular process, nitrogen is converted into many forms, and it consecutively passes from atmosphere to the soil, from soil to the organisms, and once again it goes back to the atmosphere. That's why it is considered as a cyclic process, or it is a cycle. So this nitrogen cycle is a process where nitrogen is converted into many forms, and it starts from moving from atmosphere to the soil and to the organisms, and once again back to the atmosphere. Now this nitrogen cycle, it involves various processes such as nitrogen fixation, nitrification, denitrification, decay, as well as putrefaction. Now nitrogen, it is a constituent of amino acids. So as all of you know that amino acid contains amino group, in which nitrogen is major part of the amino acid. Also nitrogen is important constituent of proteins, hormones, chlorophylls, as well as many vitamins. Now plants, they compete with microorganisms for a very limited nitrogen content which is available in the soil, and thus nitrogen is a limiting nutrient both for natural as well as agricultural ecosystems. Now nitrogen, it exists in the form of two nitrogen atoms which are joined together by a triple covalent bond, that is N triple bond N. Also it is known as N2. So in atmosphere it is available in the form of N2. The process of nitrogen cycle, it consists of following steps. The first step is nitrogen fixation, then it is nitrification, followed by assimilation, ammonification, and denitrification. These processes, they take place in several stages also. Now moving to the first part, that is nitrogen fixation. Now what do you mean by nitrogen fixation? It is the first step of the nitrogen cycle. The process of converting atmospheric nitrogen, that is N2, into ammonia is known as nitrogen fixation. So the process where the atmospheric nitrogen is converted into ammonia, that process is known as nitrogen fixation. Now how does this nitrogen fixation takes place? Means how we are going to convert this atmospheric nitrogen into ammonia. So basically nitrogen fixation, it is of two types: atmospheric fixation and industrial nitrogen fixation. Apart from these two, there is one more type of nitrogen fixation, that is known as biological nitrogen fixation. We will discuss biological nitrogen fixation in more detail as a individual topic. Right now we will focus on these two nitrogen fixation types, that is atmospheric fixation and industrial nitrogen fixation. Now in atmospheric nitrogen fixation, it is a natural phenomena in which the energy of lightning and the energy of UV radiation, it is used. They will break the nitrogen into nitrogen oxides, that is either NO or NO2 or N2O, that is either nitrogen monoxide or nitrogen dioxide or nitrous oxide. These are different oxides of nitrogen, and these oxides are later used by the plants. Whereas in case of industrial nitrogen fixation, industrial combustion, forest fires, the exhaust from the automobiles, as well as power generating stations, they convert atmospheric nitrogen into nitrogen oxides, and when nitrogen gets converted into nitrogen oxides, then it can be used by plants. Now once the nitrogen, it gets converted into nitrogen oxides, The next step is known as nitrification. Now, in nitrification, it is a process in which ammonia is getting converted into nitrate by the presence of bacteria which is present in the soil. So, ammonia gets converted into nitrate, that is NO3 minus, in presence of bacteria. The ammonia is oxidized to nitrate and it takes place by the help of nitrosomonas or Nitrococcus bacterium species. So these are the two bacterium species which helps in the conversion of ammonia into nitrate. Now basically nitrites, they are further converted into nitrates by nitrobacter. This conversion is also very important as ammonia gas, it is toxic for plants. These are known as nitrifying bacteria or they are also known as chemoautotrophs. So the following two reactions, they are involved in the process of nitrification, that is ammonia reacting with oxygen leading to the formation of nitrite, and this nitrite it further undergoes oxidation resulting in the formation of nitrate ions, that is NO3 minus. Now once nitrification takes place, the next step is assimilation. The nitrate which has been formed in the process of nitrification is absorbed by the plants and it is transported to the leaves. And in leaves, this nitrate it is reduced to form ammonia. And this ammonia it finally forms the amine group of the amino acids. And this is how the assimilation takes place. So this is how the nitrogen it is used to develop or to produce the amino acids. The next step is known as ammonification. So when plants or animals they die, the nitrogen which is present in the organic matter such as proteins or for an example hormones, they are released once again back into the soil after the death. The decomposers, that is bacteria or fungi which are present in the soil, they convert this organic matter back into the ammonia, and this process of decomposition it produces ammonia, and this is known as ammonification. The next is denitrification. Denitrification is a process in which the nitrogen compound makes its way once again back into the atmosphere. So here in this process nitrogen once again goes to the atmosphere by converting nitrate which is present in the soil into the gaseous nitrogen. This process of nitrogen cycle is considered as the final stage and it occurs in absence of oxygen. So denitrification process is carried out by denitrifying bacteria. Example is Clostridium, Pseudomonas or Thiobacillus. So these are denitrifying bacteria which will convert nitrate into gaseous nitrogen, and once again the nitrogen will go back to the atmosphere. So in the next class, we will continue with the biological nitrogen fixation as well as the symbiotic relationship which takes place between the rhizobium bacteria and the root nodules for the nitrogen fixation. It is also known as nodule formation process. Thank you very much.